Hello everyone, welcome back to AL Pokemon and episode 5 of our set battle series, the show where we pit two different Pokemon sets against each other to see which will be luckiest, which will give us the best hits, and which is ultimately the best set. Now today we have something special. We have two returning challengers. Both of these sets have appeared in the series before, both actually lost previous set battle, so we will have a new winner today, unless there's some sort of freakishly unlikely draw, but we should have a new winner today. So both of these sets are going to be hoping that today's the day they're going to get their first victory on the board. So introducing first, in the red corner, Paldea Evolved. Last time out with Paldea Evolved, unfortunately, we got a duck egg. We got nothing better than a holographic, so they ended up losing out during their set battle. They are, of course, back today as Oakley joins us, hoping to change their fate and get a big victory. We have 3 packs of Paldea Evolved, which we will be going through. As has been tradition recently, we will do more than 3 packs at some point. It's just that's how it's worked out recently. So, as I say, for now, we're just going to be cracking open those 3 packs. Whereas in the blue corner, we have Twilight Masquerade. One of my favourite sets. Of course, I regularly mention that it's got the SIR Greninja in here, which I would really love to pull. Again, they lost last time. They did have a better showing than Paldea Evolved, as you can see in the background here. We actually pulled this Carmine Ultra Rare last time. Twilight Masquerade was featured on the series. Unfortunately, just wasn't enough for it to get the victory, and it came up a little bit short. So we'll be hoping for something better today. As you can see in the background, like I say, I've got a couple of nice cards representing the set for Paldea Evolved. We have the Superior Energy Retrieval, the Hyper Rare card from our collection. But yeah, without any further ado, let's get into it. I think we will start with Paldea Evolved, because I think we would argue they are the underdog. They've had sort of the worst performance of the 2 sets so far. So let's see if Paldea Evolved can change their fate a little bit and get a good solid hit. Of course, if you're not familiar with Pokemon, or you just need a reminder, what we're classing as hits is anything above a normal card. So we're looking for EXs, we're looking for ace specs, and then of course we get into the secret rares. So then there's the illustration rares, the ultra rares, the special illustration rares, and of course the hyper rares. So we're going to take off the code card for the energy. I'm going to guess a lightning energy. No, it is steel. So what can Paldea Evolved do with its first pack? Starting out with a Litleo. He's looking a little bit pensive there, the lad is. He's looking a little unsure of himself. Is that sliding? No, it's not. Oh, I see. It's a washing line. I get it. There's a little washing line, and that's a towel. For some reason, I thought it was like a slide, like one of them inflatable slides that you get at like fairs and stuff, but it wasn't. Rockruff taking a little stroll. He always seems to be strolling with a smile on his face, that lad. Love the energy. We've got a Pawmi, a cute little fella. A Larvitar. A Mousehold. Oakley has returned, of course, because he always does. A Tinkertuff. A Pawmo, so we can evolve our Pawmi. So there we have our first reverse. This is the first chance for a hit. A Paldean Taurus. That's a nice one to get as a reverse. I'm not sure if we have that, but that's a really cool card. And on the end, just a Wigglytuff holographic. But to be fair, I don't recognise that. That might be new. So still good for me in my collection, but unfortunately not a hit for Paldea Evolved. So they remain on 0. Can Twilight Masquerade get a hit and strike out into the lead? At one point, actually, during the previous video, they were leading, and then I want to say it was Paradox Rift in that video. I could be wrong, but whichever set it was that they were against, they actually came back and ended up winning overall. So let's go for the core card. I'm going to say Grass Energy, no, Ground/Fighting. So let's crack into Twilight Masquerade, starting off with a Dracloak. With, I believe it's Dreepy is the base Pokemon. Poliwhirl, looks like he's about to do a big old stomp. Tangela, the weird little tentacle boy. He's cute though. Shinx, speaking of another cute little fella. A community centre where people gather and play games and the like. An Iron Boulder. Probopass. There's our first reverse, which is an Illumise, I should have said. Sand/reverse, that's cool. And on the end, just an Iron Leaf. So 0-0 so far. onto the second pack for Paldea Evolved. I believe this is... No, it's not Tinglu, is it? I'm still learning the names of these ones. Chen Pao? Is that Chen Pao? I'm not sure. Could be wrong. But either way, they'll be hoping that whoever's on the front, what is inside is going to bring some fireworks. As I mentioned in a previous video, I am a bit worried that one of these days we are going to have a video where there's just no hits at all. So that is a possibility. Hopefully not, but I guess we would have the option to go into overtime if we needed to, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. For the energy, I'm going to say fire energy. No, it's another ground/fighting. It's 2 in a row. So let's crack into the second pack of Paldea Evolved. We've got a Great Ball. It's a cool card just because it's something from the games and everything. A Hoppip, cute little fella. A Makuhita, oh, that's a nice artwork. Looks like he's having a little sleep, chilling under the moon. Very nice. A Pincurchin. I'm not even familiar with that fella, so I'm pretty sure I haven't pulled that before. A Falconer. Draw 2 cards. If you have a stadium in play, draw 2 more cards. A Surviper that is not a reverse. I always have to double check. A Pyro. That's cool. That's a nice artwork. All those flames and coming out of its mouth. That's very nice. I like that. Sprigatito. Reverse. Oh, fuck me sideways. It's a bloody hyper rare. A Skeledirge hyper rare. That's mental. Okay, wow, look at that fella. That is beautiful. Okay, let's see if we got anything on the end. Just another Wigglytuff. But wow, look at that. The centering is not great, I'm not going to lie. It's a little bit heavy on this side, but that is a gorgeous card. So let's get that sleeved up. So the first blood this time goes to Paldea Evolved, and it's literally the biggest hit you can get. Hyper rares are the hardest cards to get. So as of right now, that's our second hyper rare from this set as well. But as of right now, they're well out in the lead. So Twilight Masquerade is going to have to pray it might be them that actually end up with 2 losses. Which I think it might actually be. I will make it the only set with 2 losses. Again, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. But let's crack into the second set pack of Twilight Masquerade. Taking off the code card. I'm going to go over water energy. No, it's fire. I was going to say fire. I hate when I do that. When I think one pops in my head and I think something else, and then inevitably it's the one that first popped into my head that ends up being. So we have a Froakie Phantump chilling next to a literal stump, just in case it wasn't obvious enough. Slugma Nuts, a Tadbulb, an Enhanced Hammer, not a normal one, it's enhanced, a Glalie, that's a cool artwork, a Kilowattrel, a Sunflora reverse, a Fion reverse, and just a Hisuian, I'm still not sure how you say that, Hisuian Arcanine. So it is looking grim for Twilight Masquerade. It's not done yet. We could still get some more hits. We've already had an insane one, but we could get more. So here is Skeledirge, the boy that we just got the hyper rare of. Wild. So final pack. Can Paldea Evolved just basically, put everything to rest? No more debate. Just completely whitewash Twilight Masquerade. This time I'm going to go Grass Energy, because it's the first thing, and it's Fire Energy again. That's weird. We've had 2 ground/fighting energies in a row. We've had 2 fire energies in a row. Very interesting. So getting its pack, Hoppip. What cute, what a happy little fella. Just a happy little plant fella. How adorable. Love that. A Noibat, which is apparently a dragon, even though it's a bat. Weird. A Paldean Wooper. Combee. This is a cute Pokemon. I like this Pokemon. I've mentioned it before. And then Vespiquen that it evolves into is pretty cool as well. A Surviper. A Paldean Tauros, but this time a water one. I do like these Tauroses, they're cool. So there must be a water one and a fire one. I don't think there's any others, but I could be wrong. A Luxio, the middle evolution for Luxray. A Honchcrow reverse. A Practice Studio reverse. And on the end, just an Abomasnow. So it's just the one hit for Paldea Evolved. It's looking bleak for Twilight Masquerade, but if we got a hyper rare, or maybe if we even pulled that Greninja SIR, even though it's technically a lower rarity, it's very, very valuable, so that would win it. So let's have a look. Can Twilight Masquerade pull off the impossible, or at least get something on the board? Stop themselves from being completely whitewashed this time around. So let's take off the code card for the energy. I'm going to Steel Energy. Another Fire Energy. That's 3 in a row. maybe that's the Skeledirge effect from that hyper rare. It's just continually giving us fires. So a girder, strong boy. The background's cool. It's like it gives a deserty vibe. I don't know if it's meant to be a desert, but it's obviously like a little cityscape. That's pretty cool. We have a Venipede. I'm not sure. This must be, I mean, I'd assume, I don't know, this might be by the same artist as the guy who does that Sharpedo from Temporal Forces, I always point out. I'm not an artistically inclined person, so I can't tell you what the style is, but it just looks like it's the same kind of art, so I assume that's the case. An Aron, a Sandshrew, an Enhanced Hammer, again, not just a normal one, an enhanced one. Another Glalie, a Kilowattrel. We have a Cook, not the sex kind, as I always say, not the one that sits in the corner. A Varoom, last chance for a hit. Just an Enamorous. So, that's all 3 packs of Paldea Evolved and Twilight Masquerade opened. So, as we always do, we'll take a quick break and come back and then review the results. So, another eventful episode of Set Battles. This series continues to keep on delivering, even with a video like today where there was only really one hit. It was still a pretty crazy hit, but we'll get onto that in a minute. So first of all, unfortunately for Twilight Masquerade, we didn't get anything today, just some holographic cards. So unfortunately, that does mean that Twilight Masquerade, like I say, is one of my favourite sets, is 0-2 now in set battles. Not to spoil too much, but you might see them in the next set battle as well, potentially. So fingers crossed for them that they can start to have a better, run of luck. They've got to be disappointed, like say in the last video they were in, they did get an ultra rare, but weren't able to come in clutch, and this time they didn't get anything. So maybe this will be the fairy tale story, and in the future Twilight Masquerade will finally get its big win, but it doesn't look like that day will be today. And our winner is, of course, Paldea Evolved with the Skeledirge on the pack artwork, because we pulled this beautiful Skeledirge EX Hyper Rare. This one's one of those cards that's almost a little bit too gold, but I think it just about gets away with it. I've talked about it before with Hyper Rares. I am starting to like them more now that I've been opening them for a little bit longer. I just think it's one of them where, because there's so much gold, you need a good amount of colour to offset it. But this is a pretty good looking card. Vitality Song and Burning Voice for 270 damage. That's a pretty high damage attack for only 2 energy, or at least it seems like it. It's coming from someone who doesn't actually play the TCG. But yes, so today our winner is Paldea Evolved. Congratulations, they get their first win on the board, their first victory here on Set Battles. Thank you very much for watching. Do consider liking and subscribing. Feel free to leave me a comment. Have you got any good hits lately? What do you think of our luck today? What do you think of this Skeledirge EX? Take care of yourself. I hope you get to rip some cards soon and you have some good luck. Peace.